Good evening, all. Almost 400 years ago, Maryland helped to pioneer the idea of religious freedom, making this region a safe haven for diversity of practice, a place where we can live free from religious persecution. This stands in contrast to many other areas of the world. Over the past week, for example, violence erupted in the Indian state of Manipur. Mobs attacked Indian Christians, several churches were burned, and multiple people were murdered. By a percentage basis, Maryland has been, perhaps still is, in the top 5 American states, which is home to large Indian American populations. Now, around 46% of Indian Americans are from Indian minority backgrounds, such as Christians, Buddhists, Sikhs, Muslims, non-religious, or others. In other words, this state is home to a massive number of people who are originally from the minority communities which are currently being persecuted in India. And what's happening in India right now, it's nothing new as far as recent events. For instance, about 6 months ago, churches in the Indian state of Chhattisgarh were also attacked, Christians beaten, and thousands made homeless. These are just the latest incidents in a very long and growing trend of anti-minority violence, particularly against Indian Christians and Muslims over the last decade, all of it spearheaded by branches of a paramilitary called the RSS and tolerated or sanctioned by the RSS's political wing, India's nationally ruling BJP. Aside from the general humanitarian concern and Maryland's history of defending religious freedom, all of this anti-minority violence in India also impacts us very specifically in the US and Maryland and in Annapolis for another reason. That RSS-BJP regime in India has corollary organizations here in America whose leaders not only helped to put it into power in India, but whose leaders also have a long track record of reaching out to and funding some of our American politicians, even here in Maryland. The corollaries of the RSS-BJP include outfits like the HSS and the OFBJP. When it comes to Maryland politicians, for instance, such groups or their leaders have platform-funded and campaigned for politicians like Lieutenant Governor Aruna Miller, who, since her election, now helps administrate this state's government right here in Annapolis. Aruna Miller's links to these groups have been extensively reported by outlets like The Intercept and The Huffington Post. Meanwhile, as anti-minority violence expands in India, we now also have, as of late last year, groups within the same ecosystem openly fundraising in America to support demolition of churches in India. In context of this, my open questions to the Annapolis City Council are: where do you stand on the rising tide of religious extremism in India? And have any of you or the city ever associated with American leaders or outfits which support it? And what about Aruna Miller, as she is unapologetically pocketing funds from Hindu nationalist donors in these outfits? Will you not only refuse to do the same, but will you also call her out for doing it? And I thank you, and I have an information packet for every member of the council about this issue.
Thank you.